Mark.
Huh. The Bat Nasty.
The Bat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you? I don't know if you've heard of this little thing. It's called Absolute Batman number 19. Kind of flying under the radar.
Yeah, not many people talking about it. That's unfortunate.
Exactly. So we will crash that ceiling, and we'll talk about it right after this. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so that whenever we upload new content, and don't forget to leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you're reading the Absolute books. Hopefully you are. That's why you're here. Especially Absolute Batman, which, if you haven't heard, is selling like gangbusters.
Really is.
And
doing more and more.
One of the most anticipated books, probably of the entire Absolute run so far, other than maybe Absolute Batman number 1, has been Absolute Batman number 19.
Do you think it outsold number 1? Because, like, you know, it's got more hype now than it did at launch, right? The whole Absolute thing. It's
right.
I'm not sure what the numbers were for number 1, but
yeah, I'm not sure too. I guess if you count in the multiple printings, probably Absolute Batman number 1 probably still takes the cake.
Because you remember back then there weren't like the retailer exclusives and stuff. People completely slept on this thing, which is crazy to me.
Right. All the retail exclusives were on like the second, third, fourth, fifth printings instead. That they did for the most part. So, but we're promised to be introduced, and we are on page number 1 to the Absolute Scarecrow, or known as the Straw Man.
Yeah, it takes place 1,500 miles from Gotham in a cornfield where a couple farmers are moving their heavy machinery, harvesting the corn. And, you know, you got the truck going with the big dump truck on the back, and the other harvester going and mowing down the corn, shredding it and feeding it over. And while they're doing that, out walks this shadowy man wearing a suit and a hat while barefooted, catching their attention and halting their operation immediately.
Yeah, and they basically stop and they say, "Look at his face," and they're like, "It's just a mask, don't worry about it." And then he starts to kind of put some thoughts into their minds about how, one of the wives of one of you is, fooling around with the other one, and it's like that's where things start to turn south.
Yeah, it immediately goes straight into their brain and causes them to rage against each other. The one that's being accused of it immediately gets thrown into the harvester and shredded after a couple of blows have been hit. He literally runs him over, kills him in a fit of rage. So much so he's got like an eyeball laying in a puddle of blood, and a crow start flying in the sky and come down and peck at it. And while this is happening, a little crop plane is flying overhead, and all the birds start flying into it. Pretty much chaos ensues just from a few words of this straw man smoking a cigarette.
Exactly. Crows, put a pin in that, as you reminded me earlier this week. So, and then we get the 2-page spread like we get in a lot of these. It's called The Straw Man. He basically walks away whistling. And we basically get sent to Gotham City in the current day.
Yeah, where you immediately into a high-speed chase. You got Batman in a brand new vehicle. It almost looks like just like a sphere with a framework to service 4 wheels and a spoiler. And he's driving around. There's some bad guys dealing with cops, dealing with bad guys, shootout kind of thing. And he's just kind of driving this contraption, for lack of a better word. I mean, it truly is just a contraption, like just a sphere on a gimbal with some wheels and a spoiler, bouncing it around, bumping into the bad guys, flying through stuff, all kinds of things. Kind of some dialogue about how some time has passed since the last issue. Bruce is really dialed in, and he's fully focusing on this Batman thing. He's dedicating all of his resources to inventing new gadgets and doodads, hence this contraption. He's on the phone speaking with some of his allies, like the Harley Quinn gang, and they're kind of making joke of needing to nickname this new vehicle and coming up with names, and he keeps throwing out the window, and they jokingly say, "I got the perfect name. We'll call it the Bat Nasty," and Batman saying, "No, that's ridiculous," kind of thing. And at this point, the cops start chasing him because that we want to get a hold of this vigilante. We got to catch this guy doing all this stuff. And he peels into an alleyway where this thing's able to just pop up, kind of can drive through anything pretty much. It bends and turns to where it can fit into an alley and through it. And the Harley Quinn gang jumps out and they say, we got 30 seconds. And like a pit crew, they just disassemble it and put it in the back of a couple of different vehicles that drive off. The tires over here, the sphere over here. Bruce puts on like a hobo trench coat and stands there as the cops drive by. He just points in that direction in a classic kind of comical cinematic scene. It reminded me of the Jack Reacher movie with Tom Cruise in the high-speed chase where he gets ahead of him just a little bit. He steps out of the car and just lets it keep rolling, and he goes and stands with a crowd of people at the bus stop. And as the cops drive by, they just kind of stand in front of him just to naturally help him out kind of thing.
Yeah.
That.
We then switch to Bruce now is back in his Bruce identity, and he ends up seeing Wayland again, and they give each other a hug, but then we see Wayland wants to help Bruce out. This is where Bruce basically says, "Yeah, no, we're not having that. Really can't do that.
Things went terrible last time. Look at you."
Right, and he begs him, and basically Bruce says, "I love you, man, but you need to take care of yourself." Walks off, leaves Wayland screaming his name.
And then we go into a flashback back to the last place in the past that we visited these characters post Wayland boxing match where Bruce and Selena stole the money from Falcone to bet on Wayland, and they pretty much doo-wopped him out of his cash. And we see Bruce beat up and in jail, Wayland visiting him and talking about the danger he's in with Falcone and stuff, and Bruce kind of not relenting, really standing by his decision to do what he did.
We're in the Batcave then, where Alfred is there, Harley Quinn is there. They're basically talking about what's going on. They basically know that the city is chasing vigilantes, which they are. So Harley says, "We're all going to jail, aren't we?" And Alfred says, "Yeah, probably."
And they also established a new bat signal system,
right? Which Gordon then activates, and he is basically on the top of a building, and Batman shows up. And they're talking to each other, and we see in one of the panels we suddenly see this green smoke, which we're not really supposed to recognize whether it maybe is just a part of the Gotham skyline or whatever. But what happens after we see that kind of indicates that we're supposed to notice that, I think.
Yeah, Gordon kind of has a freak out in this meeting. They're talking about leads and how the city is so much more going on than I ever expected, and the powers behind the scene, and very cryptic conversation. But Gordon has a file with him that says it has the answers in it, and he's reluctant to give it to Batman, but not in a very clear way. He's very disjointed in his conversation, and the file's labeled the Batman Project. We're not left to know if this is a file that was put together after the appearance of Batman or if it predates Bruce becoming Batman. We don't know. It's called the Batman Project, not the Batman File. But Gordon changes his mind about giving it to him and lights it on fire, and it catches his arm on fire. The whole scene is very odd. Mm-hmm. Basically, he puts his arm out. A couple crows have shown up at this point, cawing, and Gordon's super hyper paranoid about the whole situation and everything going on at this point.
Right. And he basically has, "Hey, you know what? Stop that. You don't understand. They're trying to stop me. The birds." And he's like, and Bruce looks at it. He tells Bruce, "Don't look inside of it. You're not going to like what's inside of it." Bruce looks inside of it. He basically sees something that references the zoo. And then there is also, we can kind of see on different lines, there is a children, which I think is children cannibalized. The beginning of the word cannibalized. And then below the word zoo, there is manipulated, the word manipulated. And that's when Bruce says, "This can't be." And just as he does that, he looks over and Gordon jumps off the building.
He sends the little hook out of his cape to catch Gordon to try to save him. His glasses fly up. He gets him by the jacket and yells, "I got you." And it turns out he didn't got him. He got the jacket, and Gordon splattered on the ground. Commissioner Jim Gordon is now dead.
Yeah, exactly. Peter Parker says, "I feel you."
And Peter Piper picked a pepper.
Yeah, exactly. So Gordon is dead. Batman is there. We see
the people on the street see that Batman's still on the roof. Kind of that classic, "Oh my gosh, did he just push this man?" situation. Mm-hmm. And Batman's shocked at having just lost Gordon, because for Bruce, this is a a childhood friend. This is one of his mom and dad's closest friends. He's like just kind of blown away. He's looking around at the skyscrapers next to him, the people in the windows looking at him, and one person stands out who's lighting a match or the lighter, and none other than the straw man is there. And wicked design, super crazy with the buttons on the eyes and the stitches on the mouth. But that's then when we cut back to the flashback again of Bruce in jail post boxing match screwing over Falcone. Gordon comes to see him, talking about helping him out, getting him out, and turns out someone else posted his bail, and he comes walking out, and turns out Falcone posted his bail, and he has a talk with him right outside the jail, and he's like, "Hey, why'd you post my bail so I'll stop beating up all your goons?" He's like, basically, long story short, like you did me over. We got you, but your little girlfriend, she actually ran off with all the money. You're still here getting beat up in jail. She's somewhere out there with all your money, which is my money, living the high life. Y'all screwed me over, but she screwed you over. Why don't you help me find her? And Bruce is like, yeah, go screw yourself kind of thing. I'll take care of myself, and I'm not scared of you. And he doesn't dime out Selena, but just pointing out that Catwoman nature of her, that survivor.
Right. We then come back to the present, where we see for the first time in full picture, we see Wade.
There's a news briefing happening talking about the loss of Gordon, and just a standard grandstander on there pretending to have known him so well, this, that, and the third. He gets interrupted by a new character walking on stage and saying, "Y'all might not know me,
right?
But I'm kind of a big deal."
It's Slade Wilson, Deathstroke, and we see as he's talking, we see that basically what he has gone through. That basically he is someone who also was part of the project that Jack Grimm did with Bane and everything, and trying to create these super soldiers and everything. And it basically, it looks like it has cost him not only, and it literally costed him an arm and a leg,
2 legs,
exact 2 legs, as well as a large portion of his face, because he does the whole Jack thing from the
Boardwalk Empire.
Boardwalk Empire, yeah, where he basically has a mask that he puts on.
Yeah, he's got false nose, false ear, false eye socket.
Mm-hmm. And he talks about the fact that they're going to be taking Gotham back over, and there is something called the Robin program.
And that's where we cut to this scene of all these kids. It's the Robins you would know, and they're all in jumpsuits. They're all training in different ways, and you see all their different names represented on lines that they're signing, like they're getting the sign off to go out to operate. And it says parent or guardian Jack Grimm for all of what you got. Tim Drake, Stephanie Brown, Jason Todd, Duke Thomas, and Dick Grayson, all part of the Grimm House initiative. They were rescues of some sort or another. We don't have the details on all of that yet, what aspect they all were introduced to Jack Grimm or involvement with him they come into play. But they come walking in with their jumpsuits to Slade and saying, "Hey, General Wilson, you said suit up, we're ready." He says, "Those aren't your suits, Captain Grayson, but these are." And they all say, "Whoa," as a door opens, and him declaring that they're about to take back the streets from the vigilantism. So he's Jack Grimm's public-facing strong arm right there, and these are the assets to go get the job done.
And I guess one more question I have is, if they're all over 18, which supposedly they are, why does Tim Drake need a parent or guardian signature?
Why do any of them need it?
Right, exactly. But let's unpin the thing with the crows for a second.
The crows.
We didn't mention that because we've seen the crows whenever the straw man has appeared. So it appeared at the beginning of the book. It appeared with Jim Gordon. Where else have we seen the crows, Mark?
In issue number 1, at the zoo, when the whole flashbacks were showing what was happening with the situation with the active shooter at the zoo, the crows appeared in those pages.
Right. And if you go by the Project Batman file that says that a children being cannibalized at the zoo and something being manipulated, if you then are to take that and, to me, make the logical deduction that it's implying that Jack Grimm has either involvement with or orchestrated what happened at the zoo, could he have then orchestrated and used the straw man in order to have that person go in and shoot all those kids? So
Looks like the Scarecrow was afoot there. It was probably a test run of the Straw Man, who's an Arc-M experiment. They're all Arc-M experiments at this point.
And so, truly, in this book, did Jack Grimm or the Joker create Batman?
Which would be cool because in the regular universe, Batman created the Joker. So it only makes sense in the absolute universe that the Joker created Batman. In this world where nature bends toward chaos, it makes sense that everything's in reverse. We have Jack Grimm, who's the millionaire philanthropist with the mansion, with the bat cave under it, and the grandfather clock, and all of these things. And we have Batman causing mayhem in the streets. And
absolutely, just gets more and more. All the you're gonna need more red twine.
But what I need to know is Martha alive or not. Since the last issue, it ended with just showing the hand and the gun going off. And now Gordon's gone. Like, did that even really happen? Was Batman under the influence of Scare? We don't know. There's so much we don't know about primary characters just dangling right now.
Right. Which makes it all the more interesting to get the next issue and find out. So that's exactly what it's supposed to do. So
and the covers for issue 20 are out there. They got released before the issue of this. So what Robins were all saying whoa about is out there. But if you follow along, you'll find out in real time as the book comes out as we make these videos. But
exactly. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're alerted whenever we upload new content. And leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. But that's going to be it for this edition of DC Comics Deep Dive. We'll be back next Monday at 10 o'clock as well. Make sure you can join us. But as of right now, I am Paul. He is Mark.
But we are Legion.
And you're now leaving Sector 2815.